Hi, I want to talk to you about our Bill 111, the Living Wage for Guams Families Act. First off, what does this bill do? It says that anybody that works for a company that receives job subsidies from the government of Guam, tax breaks, tax incentives, rebates, etc., or does business with the government of Guam, or rents property from the government of Guam, must pay their employees a living wage. So what is a living wage? Well, lots of people around the country determine it lots of different ways. Living wage laws have been enacted in over 40 cities and 2 states, I believe, across the country to ensure that people aren't being basically exploited by big corporations. So, and they determine it differently. For us, we're going to determine it by figuring out the standard for a family of 4 qualifying for food stamps, so that you can get a job and you can earn enough money in that job to raise a family. And so on Guam, currently it's about $13.40 an hour, I believe. So that will be the standard. So everybody working for any of those institutions will, or companies or corporations, will get paid a minimum of $13.40 an hour. Well, is that going to happen overnight? No. Look, we have to be realistic when it comes to business. Currently, the minimum wage is what, $6.55, I believe, and if you go from $6.55 to $13.40 an hour overnight, it's a shock to any organization, and we don't want to do that. Our goal isn't to put people out of business. Our job is to provide good living wage jobs for our families. So what we're going to do is we're going to scale it up so that it goes up by $1 an hour every couple of months until the fiscal year, October 1st, 2010, and then it gets tied directly in to the federal food stamp limit for a family of 4. And that way it's auto-correcting and goes up every year. And once again, somebody else does the study, somebody else spends the money. We're using the Fed's money to figure out what is good for our families. And so that's going to be a very important bill. Some folks wonder, why is this important? Why is it important to me? I don't work a minimum wage job. I'm a teacher, I'm a cop, I'm a school bus driver. Well, let me tell you. First off, if a corporation is receiving tax breaks, a qualifying certificate as you will, which is a job subsidy, right? That means we're not receiving the full amount of GRT. The people of Guam are actually paying these corporations to provide these jobs. The problem is, if you're making $6.55 an hour, you aren't paying taxes. You're actually what's known as a tax burden as opposed to a taxpayer, right? At no fault of your own, mind you. But that takes money out of the public coffers because these folks go to the hospital and they become part of the 77% don't pay. They're medically indigent program, they receive GURA housing, food stamps, MIP, all sorts of programs that are funded by the taxpayers. So what happens is they pull money out of the public structure as opposed to putting money in. When we raise the standard of living and the standard of employment for all these people, what happens is all of our lives get better. What happens is we have money for schools, we have money for healthcare, public safety, because these people are contributing. And every dollar we put into their pockets, we know, economists tell us, will circulate in our economy 10 times. So when you give one of your a raise, I mean, you think about it. If you're making $6.50 an hour and all of a sudden you're making $13 an hour, what are you going to do? Hey, you're going to all of a sudden, now maybe you can afford to get cable TV in your house. Maybe you can afford to get yourself a BlackBerry. Maybe you can afford to take the family out to dinner. Maybe you can actually replace that 1986 Sentra you've been driving and get yourself a new car. Whatever it is, you're going to spend money in our economy and it's going to grow our economy for everyone. Not just the people, but everybody that does business here. So it's good for businesses and for families. So it's important for all of us. So Bill 111, the Living Wage Act for Guam's family, support it. Call your senators and tell it's a great thing. Click on the website and read it. It's a good thing. Thank you.